This is the first recording for chapter 6.2. We'll be identifying and classifying polynomial functions. A polynomial, which poly means many and nomial means terms, a polynomial is a monomial or a sum of monomials with real coefficients. That's the formal definition. So you want to know how you can tell whether or not it's a polynomial. It's actually easier to look at when it's not a polynomial. So in the definition, it had to have real coefficients, and it's this real coefficients, when you don't have real coefficients, that it often is not a polynomial. So the things that will identify it as not being a polynomial are a variable exponent, for instance, 4 to the x power, a negative exponent, 3x to the negative 2 power, you've got a negative 2 exponent, a variable inside a radical symbol, square root of x, and finally a variable in the denominator of a term, so 7 over x. If you see any one of those four things, then you know it is not going to be a polynomial. Now we're going to cover some important vocabulary. Standard form is the way that you should write your polynomial functions. And standard form simply means that you take the terms, each of the monomials, and you write them in descending means going down, order of exponents. So from left to right, you would have the largest exponent at the left and the smallest one at the right. So in this 9x to the fifth minus x to the third plus 4x plus 7, 9x to the fifth, x to the fifth is the largest exponent, so that will be the degree of the polynomial. So we would say this polynomial is a degree 5 polynomial. Whatever the largest exponent is, out in front of that will be a coefficient. Sometimes it will just be a 1 and it won't be written, but in this case it is written because it's 9x to the fifth, and 9 is the leading coefficient. So it's simply the number that is being multiplied by the variable. And then we've got the last term in this polynomial function, which is 7. That's a constant term, and that's a term that has no variables. So you need to keep these terms in mind because you're going to be using this information as you go through this chapter 6.2 assignment. Another thing you're going to have to do with your polynomial functions is once you've determined what degree the polynomial function is, meaning after you've put it in standard form and figured out what the biggest exponent is, then you're going to need to name it, give it the type. And the type of exponent, if it's a 0 degree exponent, it's going to be a constant. If it's, for instance, that would be like f of x equals 8. If it's a first degree polynomial function, it will be a linear, its type will be linear, and that would be f of x equals 2x plus 1. We dealt with that extensively in the earlier chapters of your book. A polynomial function of the degree 2 is your quadratic functions. That's going to be your chapter 5, and that would be something like f of x equals 4x squared plus x minus 5. Functions we haven't dealt so much with up till this point are cubic. So if your degree is 3, the largest exponent is 3, then it's cubic, and that might be written f of x equals 2x cubed minus 5x squared minus 1. And then if it's got a degree of 4, it's going to be a quartic, and you would be seeing something like f of x equals 3x to the fourth plus x cubed minus x plus 4. Anything with a greater degree than 4 will just simply be called a polynomial. So it could be to the 5th degree, or the 5th power, or the 6th power, or the 7th power, and so on. And your example for this is f of x equals 2x to the 6 minus 2. Okay, now we're going to look at the checkpoint exercises on page 303. The first thing you're going to determine, is it a polynomial function? If it is, then you're going to do the following. You'll write it in standard form. You'll write the degree, the type, and the leading coefficient. And I'm going to go ahead and use these colors to highlight the different parts on the standard form polynomial function. If it's not a polynomial function, then we'll just write not a polynomial function. We won't do any of these types. You're going to use this form to do the assignment on page 305, 7 through 22. So you're not going to use the directions they give you. You're going to use a table like this. And you're going to do all of those problems like this 1 through 4 are done. You're not going to do 7 through 22 in one day. We're going to do it over a period of a couple of days. So make sure you don't try to do it all in one day. I need you to practice over a period of time. So we're going to go ahead and go through this. All right, number 1 is not a polynomial function. And the reason it is not a polynomial function is that you've got this square root of x. So not a polynomial function. And the reason for that is the square root of x. Okay, number 2, we've got f of x equals 1/4 x minus 1/2 x cubed plus 5/8. This is a polynomial function, but it is not written in standard form. So we're going to write it in standard form. So it's going to be f of x equals 1/2 x to the 3rd power, because this is the largest degree, plus, oh, let's put that negative in there. So that was negative 1/2 x to the 3rd and plus 1/4 x plus 5/8. Okay, so your degree on this one is 3. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that in yellow. Your type, whenever it's to the 3rd power, is cubic. And again, so the 3rd power is going to make it cubic. And there was nothing to highlight on that. And then the final one, the leading coefficient, is going to be the negative 1/2. And that is going to be this color right here. This is your leading coefficient right there, the negative 1/2. 5/8 is a constant if you want to know that. It's not necessary. Okay, let's go on to number 3. Number 3 is f of x equals 2 minus x. Well, all of those are real, all of those are going to be fine because you don't have any of the exceptions there. So you're going to have f of x equals negative x, or negative 1x if you prefer, plus 2. And your degree, this is going to be, it's not written, but that means it's to the 1st power, so it's a degree of 1. So even though it's not written, it's actually right there. There's a 1 in there. And then you have the type, anything to the 1st power is linear. And then your leading coefficient is negative 1. So even though the 1's not there, it is actually assumed. It's negative x, so that's negative 1x is the equivalent expression, is the equivalent value. Okay, so now we go to number 4. F of x equals x squared minus 5 over x plus 7. Well, that's one of the exceptions. You can never have a denominator that's a variable. So this is not a polynomial function. And one of the reasons, or the reason it is not, is it's got negative 5 over x, with the x as the denominator being the problem. If it's not a polynomial function, then we can't fill in any other part of the table. So this is how you will fill in your table. And again, we'll do the assignment over a couple of days. We're going to do half of it today, and then we'll do the other half on the other class period. So on day 1, we'll do 7 through 14, and on day 2, we'll do 15 through 22.